of that
Okay,
move
Kelly,
back.
I have to stop you because we are hearing from President Trump now. By the way, he's speaking in front of several auto racing champions of 2024. Let's listen.
To us on trade, not only with, if you look at it, not only with China, but China was by far the biggest abuser in history, and others also, but somebody had to do it. They had to stop because it was not sustainable. Last year, China made $1 trillion off trade with the United States. That's not right. And now I've reversed it. It's for a short period of time, but we made $2 billion. We're making now $2 billion a day. And somebody had to do it. Roger actually said it. Charles Schwab was here a little while ago, one of the great financial people, and he said he's been waiting for 40 years for somebody to do what I did over the last month. And if you didn't do it, you wouldn't have a country. It wouldn't be sustainable. So I'm honored to have done it. And, look, nothing's over yet, but we have a tremendous amount of spirit from other countries, including China. China wants to make a deal. They just don't know how quite to go about it. It's one of those things they don't know how quite. They're proud people. And President Xi's a proud man. I know him very well. And they don't know quite how to go about it, but they'll figure it out. They're in the process of figuring it out, but they want to make a deal. And we have many other countries, as you know, many more than 75, and they all want to come, and they want to come here, or they'll go to Commerce, or they'll go to Treasury. We have our great senators here and congressmen. They'll call John. They'll do somebody. They'll go through somebody, but they're all calling. How do we do this? They all want to make a deal. Somebody had to do what we did, and I did a 90-day pause for the people that didn't retaliate, because I told them if you retaliate, we're going to double it. And that's what I did with China, because they did retaliate. So we'll see how it all works out. I think it's going to work out amazing. I think that our country is going to be at the end of a year or shorter, but I think we're going to have something that nobody would have dreamt possible. A man like Roger Penske, I don't want to get him in trouble with China, so I won't, but he would know that someday you have to cut the bow and you have to do what you have to do, right, Roger? And that's what I did, and I'm very happy to have done it.
Yeah, Mr. President,
was there anyone
the Prime Minister of Greece just told Breitbart's Matt Boyle that he thinks absolutely the European Union and the United States could work out a trade deal that's win-win and, quote, mutually beneficial to both sides. What do you think about the Prime Minister's comments, and do you think a deal could be struck with the European Union?
First of all, I know him. He's a good man, and I appreciate his comments. Yeah, a deal could be made with every one of them. A deal's going to be made with China. A deal's going to be made with every one of them. And there'll be fair deals. I just want fair. They will be fair deals for everybody. But they weren't fair to the United States. They were sucking us dry, and you can't do that. We have $36 trillion of debt for a reason. We don't have it there for fun. They have it for a reason. And people took advantage of our country, and they ripped us off for decades. I've been thinking about this for decades. If you ever saw me on television, I was young like these guys. And it was a good old days, I'll tell you, Roger. But I was like these guys, young, and I was talking about it. Nothing changed, and nothing was done about it. Then I did it. In my first term, I did it, and did it well. We took in hundreds of billions of dollars from China and others, and I started the process, but then we had to fix up from the COVID mess caused by China. We had to fix up from that, and we did a good job of doing it. And when we handed back the reins after a rigged election, and when we handed back the reins, the stock market was higher than it was before COVID coming in. So, we did a great job, but we didn't have time to do the big thing, which we're doing now. And it's, it's like a patient is sick. You have to do surgery. Patient is very, very sick. And Joe Biden handed us over a country that was in very serious trouble, economically and in every other way. They let China run away with things. They let other countries run away with things. And maybe worst of all, in a certain way, is what they did at the border. We had people pouring into our country by the millions. Many of them were murderers and drug lords and thieves and people from prisons from all over the world. And there were people from mental institutions, insane asylums. They were taking their mentally insane, and they were dumping them into our country. And I'll tell you, Tom Homan and Kristi Noem are doing a fantastic job removing them. And now the courts, the Supreme Court just gave us numerous good rulings where we have to be able to get them out. You had other judges trying to take over the system. And think of it, they take over. They want these people coming back, Tren de Aragua from Venezuela, the Venezuela jails that cut off the fingers of a man in Colorado. They cut off his fingers because he called the police looking for help. They said, "Did you call the police?" He said, "Yes, I did." "Put your hand down," and they cut off the fingers. This is what they want to bring these people back now. And I want to thank the president of El Salvador for the job he's done, because that is that's the way it has to be done. And it's too bad. Yeah, please.
Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, they've been talking about tariffs for decades. How come when these Democrat elites want tariffs, everything's hunky-dory, but when President Trump wants tariffs, all hell breaks loose? Do you see this double standard?
I love this guy, whoever the hell that is. That's really nice. I appreciate that question. No, Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, everybody knew you had to do it, but they never had the guts to do it. It does take guts. It even takes guts for our country to go through it. That's why I say be cool. They were saying about, see, just be cool. It's going to work out. It's going to work out, and it's working out. I can tell you, working out maybe faster than I thought. But I said it's going to take a little conditioning. It's a transition to. It's really, I think it's a transition to greatness. It's going to be greatness. Our country is going to be. There'll be nothing like it. And people investing in our country, they're going to do better than they've ever done before. We have more car manufacturers, Roger, coming into our country now. Speaking of cars. We've never seen anything like it. And they're coming in because of the election, but they're coming in because of the tariffs, because they don't want to pay 25 or 50 or whatever it may be. They don't want to pay that. They can't pay that. We had 3 cancellations in Mexico, building a plant. They're all coming into the United States. Canada, they're coming in. From China, they're coming in from everywhere. And that's just cars. We have chip makers coming. We're the biggest chip maker in the world from Taiwan, coming in, spending $3 billion to build plants, and mostly a big plant. This is a hell of a plant when you spend the kind of money that they're going to go $200 to $300 billion, not million. You know, you'd say million would be the right number. It's not. $200 to $300 billion. Think of that. $300 billion. If you look at Apple is going to spend $500 billion building a plant. They wouldn't be doing that if I didn't do this. They'd just keep building them in China. And that's unsustainable. It's not a pleasant thing to do, but I appreciate the question. And, you know, interestingly, Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, Crazy Nancy, they've wanted to do this for years, but they never had a president that had the guts to do it, because it does take guts, believe me.
Was it the bond markets that persuaded you to reverse course?
I was watching the bond market. The bond market is very tricky. I was watching it, but if you look at it now, it's beautiful. The bond market right now is beautiful. But yeah, I saw last night where people were getting a little queasy. I think everything had. Well, the big move wasn't what I did today. The big move was what I did on Liberation Day. We had Liberation Day in America. We're liberated from all of the horrible deals that were made, all of the horrible trade deals that were made. And I was helped by people just like this, senator, congressman, and friends, right? And we had great help in the Senate. Our Republican senators have been amazing. They stood tall. And likewise in the House. And John Thune has done an amazing job. Barrasso has done an amazing job. I can't think of a senator, really. We had tremendous support. We got a bill passed the other day with almost unanimous support in the Senate, and I think we're going to get that in the House, too. And I have to tell you that Mike Johnson is a great speaker. He's done a fantastic job. We had a majority of 1. Now we have a majority of 7. And you don't realize how big 7 is until you have a majority of 1. 7 sounds like so much. But we're doing well. But Mike Johnson and John Thune have done a really great job.
Mr. President, was there anyone who influenced your decision? Did you speak with anyone, Jamie Dimon? Did you speak with anyone?
Well, I watched Jamie Dimon on Maria Bartiromo's show this morning, and he was very good. He said that, actually made the statement to effect that something had to be done with the tariffs and trade. He said that. He said, look, at some point, but he said something has to be done with tariffs and trade. He understood it. He's very smart and very a genius financially. He's done a fantastic job at the bank. And he knows that. Everybody knows that. Anybody that's even a little bit smart knows it. It wasn't sustainable what was happening. Somebody had to pull the trigger. I was willing to pull the trigger. This should have been done long ago. Just like Biden should have stopped the border long ago. I mean, allowed 21 million people plus into our country, many of whom should never have been allowed out of prisons and jails. They came out of prisons and jails from all over the world. And now we're getting them out, bringing them back to their countries. But it should have never been done. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Sir, would you consider exempting some U.S. companies, maybe some larger companies who have been hit hard in the markets the last few days during this 90 days?
As time goes by, we're going to take a look at it. There are some that have been hard. There are some that, by the nature of the company, get hit a little bit harder, and we'll take a look at that, yeah.
How will you determine the next 90 days?
Just instinctively, more than anything else. I mean, you almost can't take a pencil to paper. It's really more of an instinct, I think, than anything else.
What's your credibility like? Because you said that these tariffs would go into effect on Monday. You said no pause. And today there is a pause. So how can people believe your words today?
It's not a question of that. You have to have flexibility. I could say, here's a wall, and I'm going to go through that wall. I'm going to go through it no matter what, and keep going, and you can't go through the wall. Sometimes you have to be able to go under the wall, around the wall, or over the wall. These guys know that better than anybody, right? You got to go around them sometimes. You're not going to go through them. So I consider, I think in financial markets, because they change. Look how much it changed today. We went from, pretty moderate today, but over the last few days it looked pretty glum, to, I guess they say it was the biggest day in financial history. That's a pretty big change. And I think the word would be flexible. You have to be flexible. Like he's asking the question about some companies. Some companies, through no fault of their own, they happen to be in an industry that is more affected by these things than others. You have to be able to show a little flexibility. And I'm able to do that. I'm going to say hello to these champions because they are great champions. I got to say hello.
President Trump there speaking to cameras. He was asked questions about tariffs. This is at an event here with some 2024 racing champions. All right, so the president said last year China made $1 trillion off of trade with the U.S. He said that's not right. I've reversed it in a short period of time. He said we will make $2 billion a day, and somebody had to do it. He said China wants to make a deal but doesn't know how to go about it. Just to catch you up to speed, the president announced today tariffs of 125% on Chinese imports. And then the president also reiterated his 90-day pause for people who don't retaliate, meaning nations who haven't issued reciprocal tariffs on what the president has done. That baseline reciprocal tariff is now 10% for the next 90 days. The president, interestingly, was asked Monday, you said that there was not going to be a pause. Today, you said there's a pause, essentially being asked what gives here. And the president said you have to have flexibility. Let's bring in Aaron Navarro here at the White House. Aaron, what were some of your other top lines from what you heard from the president?
Lindsay, good to join you from a busy day at the White House. In addition to President Trump talking about, quote, flexibility, in one moment he said today's announcement, this 90-day pause could be, quote, temporary. But it really seems that China is the main target. That's what we've seen from the White House officials. And President Trump said, quote, China wants to make a deal, expressing optimism that the biggest and second biggest markets in the world could come to an agreement. President Trump just said they just don't know how to go about it. He talked about the other countries, about 75 that have come to the U.S. looking to negotiate a trade deal, including the European Union, who is part of the group of countries that will have that 90-day pause, just the 10% baseline reciprocal tariffs. And President Trump, who has expressed lots of gripes with the European Union with trade deficits between America and European countries, seemed open to making a deal with them as well.
Aaron Navarro, thank you so much. Let's go to CBS News Congressional reporter Taurean Small live on Capitol Hill for us. Taurean, what is the latest now in terms of lawmaker reaction? And we did hear the president talk about Speaker Johnson and Majority Leader Thune as well. We know that the president is very actively involved in negotiating on the budget resolution with Congress as well.
Right. The response from Republicans on the Hill, Lindsay, has been largely positive. Even some of the president's more vocal proponents or opponents to his tariffs, rather, like Susan Collins of Maine's, came out saying that this is a very positive development, especially for our allies. She hopes that the president moving forward could further differentiate between how he addresses trade with some of our adversaries and our allies, like Canada, for example. We also saw happen earlier today was a hearing with Trump's trade representative, Jamieson Greer. This is the second time he's on Capitol Hill testifying before Congress about these tariffs. What's interesting, though, he came into this hearing with the House Ways and Means panel without addressing a future pause that would happen. In fact, he was called out by it once that news broke while he was sitting in the hot seat and was asked whether or not he was privy to these discussions. He said he was, but he chose not to talk about it. And that brought out quite a bit of anger from Democrats on the panel. In fact, the congressman from Nevada said, who is actually in charge here, considering that it appears you didn't even know about this? To which he said, of course, the president is in charge of ultimately these tariffs. One other thing I want to mention this week, he also talked to senators in which Republicans expressed quite a bit of reservations they had about this aggressive policy. And Senator Thom Tillis of North Carolina said, in a joking way, I should point out, that he wanted Greer to point out whose throat he should choke out if this policy failed ultimately, to which Greer responded that he, of course, would take the fall for that. Even though there's a bit of levity behind that, Lindsay, there was quite a bit of reservations that we've seen expressed from Republicans. In fact, 7 Republican senators signed on to a resolution essentially rebuking these Trump tariffs. Right now, though, the response tends to be quite positive, considering that those concerns that they have been at least temporarily quelled through this pause.
Temporarily quelled. Taurean Small, thank you so much. Let's go back to CBS News Money Watch correspondent Kelly O'Grady. I want to ask you that question, sort of have you pull on that thread that the president was asked, that Monday you said there was not going to be a pause. Today there now is a pause. How are business leaders viewing his credibility when it comes to his tariff policy and the decisions that they need to make for their bottom line?
Credibility is an interesting question. I mean, I think we talked about this. Negotiations, to be a good deal maker, you have to have uncertainty in the mind of your opponent. And that would be the case in these countries.
I'm not a good negotiator, so can you say that again? what does that mean?
If you and I are negotiating right now, if you think I'll do anything, right? That might make you a little worried. And that back and forth of, well, this is not a blanket pause, this is a 90-day pause, we've seen this move around before, it makes countries concerned, right? Well, we need to come to the table. For companies, this is really hard to plan. Do I source from China? Do I source from Vietnam? Do I come here? Do I move my production to Vietnam? And then the goalposts move. And now Vietnam is a target, or some other country that I've moved my production to. And for investors, I was speaking to one, and he texted me this line. He goes, "Fool me once." And of course, the saying goes, "Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me." At this point, investors are kind of going back and forth. I think it's not just twice, it's a number of times we've seen things go back and forth. So we're seeing a market rally today, but a lot of investors I'm talking to are saying, well, let's hold on. This might not be something that we see for the next few weeks or months.
And so from the business perspective, is it that's the investor perspective. From the business perspective, is it, I have now seen tariffs be threatened, imposed, and walked back at least twice. Am I not going to now move operations back to the U.S. because of the tremendous investment that would cost me? Because should tariffs be threatened again, they will be walked back again.
I think what you're going to see from businesses is pause. You know, let's pause on making any huge decisions to see where the chips land. But a lot of businesses I am talking to that would like to see production in the U.S., what they're hoping for is incentives. Don't just say, you know, slap me on the wrist if I'm importing from China, but give me more of an incentive, tax breaks, money to help me invest here. I think that's what folks are going to be looking for to make those huge decisions rather than a 90-day pause or not a 90-day pause.
Okay, Kelly, don't go too far. Maybe grab a snack or a nature break, but that's about it. Because if you have tariff-related questions, our Money Watch experts, Kelly O'Grady, Angela Schlesinger, are ready to answer them. So you can scan the QR code on your screen right now, or you can head to the CBS News Instagram page to submit a question, and then join us tonight for a 1-hour Trump tariff special on the Daily Report. That is 6 p.m. Eastern right here on CBS News 24/7. This is all we're going to be talking about. You are definitely going to want to tune in.